The following is an exclusive presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.
Washington, D.C., city of white marble shrines, memorials, awe-inspiring architecture, and now a modern monument to baseball, brand new Nationals Park. With the presidential race in full swing, we start this season by celebrating the freedom of choice that is the foundation of America's government and America's game, with some help from a man who knows a lot about both.
Baseball and politics are the nation's two national pastimes, and they complement one another very nicely. Choosing a baseball team is the result of a process far too mysterious for most of us to unravel. You respond to the team's uniform, its logo. It's an addiction. A reasonable voter, when picking a candidate, says, first of all, is this a candidate who can suffer defeat, get back up, and keep on keeping on?
Come on, New York, you have two choices.
The New York Yankees.
New York Mets, your choice for 2008.
3 words, Red Sox Nation.
No debate, just Detroit.
Every team going in knows it's going to win 60 games, it's going to lose 60 games, and you play the whole season to sort out the middle 42 games. Baseball, like politics, requires patience.
Remember this, you are free to choose.
Go with your gut and go with your heart.
I'm David Wright.
I'm Johnny Damon.
I'm Vernon Wells.
I'm Curtis Granderson.
I'm Jonathan Powell.
I am Dimitri Young, and I approve this message.
It's baseball's opening night, and here in Washington, it's the presidential opener with all of the attendant ceremony, pomp, circumstance. The big crowd is gathering in this beautiful new yard, and a festive night in Washington is here for sure. There's Bobby Cox and Washington manager Manny Acta greeting one another as we open this beautiful new yard right here on ESPN. It's ESPN's opening night baseball, built by the Home Depot. The Atlanta Braves, perennially a contender in the National League, and they figure to be again this year up against the Washington Nationals, and they're still building, and they're hoping to surprise some people this year. Hello, everyone. I'm John Miller with my Hall of Fame partner, Joe Morgan. Joe, they're setting off fireworks behind us. This is our 19th season of Major League Baseball coverage on ESPN. You're getting younger, man.
Maybe they're setting off the fireworks in honor of us.
Thank you very much, Washington. Now, we've got this Atlanta ball club. So many things the Braves do well, but they've got a possible great 1-2 punch in that lineup. Chipper Jones and Mark Teixeira. Chipper's been great for years. Teixeira was great the last 2 months of last year when he came to Atlanta.
Well, John, when you think of power in the 3rd and 4th slots, your mind races to Manny Ramirez and Big Papi in Boston. Well, with Chipper Jones and Mark Teixeira, they offer a different problem for a starting pitcher. First of all, if you're right-handed, you can try to get Manny out and pitch around Big Papi. If you're left-hander, you do just the opposite. But with Mark Teixeira and Chipper Jones, 2 switch hitters, you can't pitch around anyone. And I think these 2 guys have a chance to rival Big Papi and Manny Ramirez as far as run production this year.
Well, if they can do it, that would be something indeed, and we may see the Braves right at the top all year. Pitching has always been a staple for Atlanta. They've got John Smoltz back. They've got Tom Glavine back after 5 years in New York. They're both in their 40s. Tim Hudson, a veteran as well, a little bit younger. He's starting tonight. Tim Hudson had his best year since going to Atlanta last year. If anything, he was unlucky. Should have won more than the 16 he picked up.
Well, he's the perfect guy to start in this surroundings tonight, John. First of all, it's cold. And anytime it's cold, it's tough to hit. And it's always tougher to hit a sinking fastball, and especially when it's cold, like Tim Hudson has. As long as Tim Hudson keeps the ball down, the Nationals are going to have trouble putting the ball in play because this guy is tough. He throws a heavy sinker, and it gets heavier with the cold weather.
Joe, tonight, Peter Gammons is back with us again this year, and Peter Gammons looking at this Nationals ball club, they've got a couple of young outfielders filled with promise, Elijah Dukes and Lastings Millage. And Peter tells us about Lastings Millage.
Thank you, John. Lastings Millage's career restart is a metaphor for the restart of baseball in Washington, where two previous franchises relocated, and the city not only hasn't had a winning team since 1969, but a first-place finish since the first year of the FDR administration. Millage was sent packing from the Mets last November with a 16-wheeler of baggage. There was a rap song publicly condemned by ownership, a sign attached to his locker by a teammate that read, "Know your place," and a few immature statements like "being quiet is not me," as well as some erratic defensive moments. Here in Washington, Millage doesn't have to be a franchise player. Ryan Zimmerman is the face of the Nationals. He has a manager, Manny Acta, who believes in him from Acta's days as a Mets coach. He's being handed a pressure-free opportunity to develop into a productive outfield bat and become the player he and the New York media promised when he burst into the majors in 2006 as a precocious 21-year-old. John?
Lastings Millage just introduced to the crowd here by Don Sutton, the Hall of Fame pitcher, now a broadcaster for the Washington Nationals, handling the pregame ceremonies tonight, as we are just about ready to get it all started here at Nationals Park. They went a long time without any baseball at all here in our nation's capital. The old Washington Senators having moved after the 1971 season to become the Texas Rangers, and that after the original Washington Senators departed for Minnesota to become the Twins in the 1961 season. They were replaced by the expansion team that then became the Rangers, and then the Montreal Expos moved here to Washington, now beginning their 4th season in our nation's capital. But the excitement is palpable here in D.C. right now because a new ballpark, for the first time in 46 years, a new ballpark has opened. Tonight is the opening night at this beautiful new yard. The pre-game ceremonies, the pomp. What would it be without all of that in Washington? Here's the voice of Nationals Park, James Aruska.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise as the Joint Services Color Guard presents our nation's colors. Colors. Halt. Halt. Breathe in. Halt. Please remain standing as we honor our country with the singing of the Star-Spangled Banner. We are delighted to present one of the most exciting and talented vocal stars in all of the world. She has displayed her talents on TV, radio, and in the world's largest venues. Ladies and gentlemen, internationally known operatic star and Washington, D.C. native, Denise Graves.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last
Denise Graves, the world-famous opera star, with a stirring rendition of our national anthem here in our nation's capital at the beautiful new Nationals Park. This is the presidential opener. President Bush is here tonight. That was a tradition that began all the way back in 1910 when William Howard Taft, himself a ball player who had aspirations to be a big leaguer, he threw out the first pitch that year and has been carried on ever since, as long as they've had baseball in Washington anyway. William Howard Taft started it. Since then, 12 presidents all told have thrown out the first pitch. And tonight will be the 48th presidential first pitch. FDR leads that particular league with 8 first pitch calls to duty. And the home team's record is a winning record when the president has thrown out the first pitch. So let's go down again to the voice of Nationals Park, Jerome Haruska. There's the president, the 43rd president of the United States, George W. Bush. He will be throwing the first pitch out to Manny Acta. And here's the announcement by Jerome Haruska.
Manager of the Washington Nationals, Manny Acta. And managing principal owner of the Washington Nationals, Ted Lerner. And here to throw out the inaugural pitch at Nationals Park to mark a new era of Washington baseball, the President of the United States.
There have been many presidents who have thrown out first pitches, but I don't know that anybody's ever done it better than this particular president.
That was some heat, John. High heat.
And usually they go to the front of the mound in these ceremonial first pitches, presidents or otherwise. He goes right up on the mound again, just as we saw him at the World Series at Yankee Stadium in 2001, soon after September 11th. It is the presidential opener in Washington, D.C. at brand new Nationals Park. The game begins when we come back.
ESPN Opening Night Baseball is built by the Home Depot. You can do it, we can help. And in part by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. TheLadders.com. Only the 100K plus jobs. Only the 100K plus people. And MLB 08 The Show. Nothing gets you closer. Only on PlayStation.
The cherry blossoms in full bloom here in Washington, D.C. It is springtime after all. Yesterday was also the running of the National Marathon through the streets of D.C. And the game tonight is the culmination of a great weekend here in our nation's capital. As you walk from the Washington clubhouse to the first base side dugout, the home dugout, that sign, there's always some kid who may be seeing me for the first time. I owe him my best. Joe DiMaggio. Inspiring words from one of the all-time greats for these national players as they head out to play before what I'm guessing will be fairly large crowds all season long in this beautiful new yard.
Well, I think what's great about that sign is it tells you should hustle all the time.
The Washington Nationals for 2008 take the field. Lastings Millage heading out to center field, number 44. Bobby Cox back with Atlanta, his 19th consecutive year managing the Braves. His 27th year as a big league manager overall. He also had a few years with the Braves back in the late 70s. And here's the Atlanta batting order. Kelly Johnson leads off, second base. Yunel Escobar could be the everyday shortstop replacing Renteria. Chipper Jones, the great veteran, third base, a slugger. Mark Teixeira, another switch hitter, another slugger, first base. Jeff Francoeur, the young emerging slugger, 2 straight years over 100 RBIs. Brian McCann, 2 straight years all-star catcher. Matt Diaz, left field, hit .338 last year. Mark Kotze in center field to replace the longtime Braves great Andrew Jones. And Tim Hudson is the pitcher, batting ninth, and a pretty good hitter for a pitcher as well. And there is Odalis Perez, former Dodger and most recently with the Kansas City Royals, and a surprise opening day starter for the Nationals, Joe.
Well, he's surprised because they didn't sign him until February. They didn't know who was going to start. But when you look at Odalis Perez, one of the things that they're trying to get him to do is be more aggressive. They want him to get ahead in the count by throwing fastballs at first pitch. He likes to throw sliders and change-ups first pitches. Now, that works in a lot of cases, throw first pitch fastball, get ahead. But when you look at the Atlanta Braves, you have Jeff Francoeur, Matt Diaz, Yunel Escobar. They're all first pitch fastball hitters. So he has to be careful with those guys. So it's going to be interesting how he approaches this Atlanta lineup. But you have to throw strikes if you're going to be effective. And let's take a look at the defense for the Nationals. They have a new center fielder and a new left fielder. Elijah Dukes is in left field, age 23, see his age there. Lasting Milledge, of course, plays for the Mets, and both very young players with a lot of potential.
The throw has gone down to second base. The ball is in the glove of left-hander Odalis Perez. And the North American version of the 2008 season is about to begin. Remember, earlier this week, baseball actually opened in Tokyo, Japan, with the Boston Red Sox and Oakland Athletics playing a couple of games.
I only recognize tonight, this is the opening of the baseball season here in America right now.
I'm with you. And we are underway. Foul ball, strike one to Kelly Johnson. Kelly Johnson, 26 years old. He's had a couple of years in the big leagues and was an excellent hitter last year's first full years. And look at all those flash bulbs commemorating the moment, capturing the moment.
The first official pitch here in Nationals Park.
They played an exhibition here last night with the Baltimore Orioles. Just a friendly. That doesn't count. There's a strike on the inside. That's the thing about Odalis Perez, Joe. He will change speeds a lot.
But he has a good fastball, and that's what they want him to use it a lot more. If he uses fastball, they think he can be more effective. And the guy's had a lot of success in the Major League. It's not like he hasn't won games. He has proven that he's a big league pitcher.
Began his career with the Atlanta Braves. That fastball a little bit inside. Got his first look with the Braves in '98, then again in '99 and 2001. Then went over to the Dodgers in a trade and became a regular rotation starter with the Dodgers. Had some very successful seasons for LA.
Slider.
2-2 the count.
I mean, he has a good slider, good changeup. And as long as he can stay ahead in the count and then work with those pitches, then I think he'll have some success tonight.
2-2. He struck him out.
Well, the only reason Kelly Johnson chases this pitch is because he's behind in the count. That's why the Nationals say they need him to be aggressive and get ahead in the count. Let's take a look at K-zone. You'll see the ball starts right below the strike zone and slides down a little bit lower. And Kelly chases it. Good start for the Nationals here in their ballpark on opening night here in America.
For the record, the first batter in the history of Nationals Park, Kelly Johnson of Atlanta, the first strikeout by Odalis Perez of the same batter. And here is Yunel Escobar. Escobar, 25 years old, from Havana, Cuba. 1 year in the big leagues, and he takes over for Edgar Renteria, who has gone to the Detroit Tigers.
Well, so far, Perez is following orders well. Use his fastball, move it around, get ahead of the hitters, and then put them away with your off-speed pitches.
0-2. The fastball is off the outside. The stadium radar got clocking that fastball, Joe, at 91 miles an hour, and that last one at 89 miles an hour. So, as you say, he's got pretty good fastball.
He's got a good fastball. He's got good stuff.
Changeup, and he had him lunging at that one.
And it was in an excellent location, John. It was a low and away changeup, and Escobar is just happy that he was able to foul it.
Escobar hit .326 in his first big league season last year, 94 games. The changeup just got a piece of it. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Now, Odalis Perez is wearing some kind of a tag, Joe. I'm trying to figure out what that is.
I'm looking at it as well. Well, I was going to use my telestrator for the first time. There is over there.
Looks like
well,
it looks like it's necklace.
No, you know what it is? It's on his shirt. It's the.
Is he wearing the shirt inside out?
No, it's just the tag is sticking out.
Is that one of those tags that says, "Do not remove this tag under penalty of law"?
Yeah, and tells you the machine wash and so forth and so on.
That's a new look. 2-2 the count to Escobar. Chipper Jones on deck. Off the outside. So now it's 3-2. He got ahead of him, Joe. Now he started nibbling.
Yeah, therein lies the problem. Again, he has good stuff. He got ahead 0-2. He almost got Escobar to chase a couple of pitches, but Escobar is a patient hitter. That's why he hit over 300 last year.
He stays with the off-speed stuff, and Escobar hangs tough. This will be the 9th pitch of the at-bat coming up as Chipper Jones is intently watching from the on-deck circle, seeing if there's anything he can pick up about this stuff of Odalis Perez. He tries again, and he walks it.
See, that's a problem for me, because the one thing you do not want to do is walk someone in front of Chipper Jones and Mark Teixeira coming up.
That's a guy you go after.
Right.
Not a whole lot of power. These guys can hurt you big time. There is Manny Acta with Pat Corrales, his bench coach, alongside. Odalis Perez, we mentioned it was kind of a surprise when he was named the opening day starter. He did not actually pitch in a Major League exhibition game in the Grapefruit League until March 15th. Games have been going on for more than 2 weeks by that time. He didn't have his work visa. Chipper, first ball swinging. There is Kearns. Wow, how about that? We have a 10-pitch marathon with Yunel Escobar, and he gets a walk. Chipper Jones going on 1 pitch.
Chipper, needless to say, is a more effective hitter from the left side. More power and a better hitter. Fastball pretty much in the middle of the plate. Chipper just missed it. It's one of those that he'd love to have back. If he gets to swing at a pitch like that every at bat during the rest of the season, he's going to have a lot of home runs.
Here's Mark Teixeira. Chipper in his 14th opening day with the Atlanta Braves. His first one was in 1995. He got a base hit in his first at bat. And you recall that was part of a stretch in the first inning where they got 6 straight hits against Terry Mulholland to start the season. 1 ball, 1 strike now to Mark Teixeira, 28 years old. Teixeira is from this general area. He's from Annapolis, Maryland, not far from Washington, D.C. 4 times over 100 RBIs. This is the start of his 6th year in the big leagues. Chipper Jones, 100 RBIs or more 9 times. So they've got 2 guys who have a record of being excellent RBI producers. Last year, 30 homers, 105 RBIs with both the Rangers and the Braves. But really got it going after he went to Atlanta. Just missed a little bit low, apparently. Mike Riley is the home plate umpire, the crew chief. 3-1 the count. Jeff Francoeur is on deck. Another powerful hitter. We mentioned the big 2 of Chipper Jones and Teixeira, but Jeff Francoeur is really emerging as a power hitter as well.
But he has not reached their status yet, but you're right. I mean, he's gotten better each year, and especially as an RBI man. Bobby Cox loves the way that he hits with runners in scoring position.
His friend Coor getting that bat ready. 3-2 the count. First baseman Nick Johnson plays behind Escobar at first. There goes Escobar. Strike three call. A very similar pitch. And this time called a strike. Teixeira didn't like it. That's the inning. One man left. Now the Nationals will come up against Tim Hudson from Washington. Baseball's opening night on ESPN from Washington Nationals Park. The Atlanta Braves have gone down in the first inning. There's Manny Acta checking out the lineup card in Washington's first base side dugout. His second year as the manager of the Nationals. The Washington lineup: Christian Guzman, shortstop. Lastings Millage, the former Met, center field. Ryan Zimmerman, he continues to emerge as a solid slugger, third base. Nick Johnson back from a broken leg, first base. Austin Kearns, the right fielder. Veteran Paul Loduca, most recently with the Mets, the catcher. Elijah Dukes, a former Devil Ray, another emerging young player, left field. Ronnie Belliard, the veteran, second base. Odalis Perez, the pitcher, batting ninth, all up against Tim Hudson, a 16-game winner last year, Joe, and pitched well enough to have won a lot more than that.
He definitely had a chance to win a lot more games because he pitched very, very well throughout the whole season. He did not have a drop-off last year.
And look at that. The first hit in Nationals Park on the first pitch to the first Nationals hitter, Christian Guzman.
And Guzman and Belliard, they have two guys that just slap the ball around, do a lot of positive things on the field. And a lot of people know what's coming when you throw, when Tim Hudson throws. That's a sinker away off the plate. Reaches out and pulls it in the right field for a base hit. And that will go down in history as the first official base hit by a national player at this ballpark.
And by any player.
Yeah, but they always like their own.
Sometimes the visiting team having come to bat first, one of their guys gets the first hit. But in this case, the first Nationals hit is the first hit, period. Here's Lastings Millage. Peter Gammons was talking about before the game. Millage, so much talent, only 23. In fact, he'll turn 23 on the 5th of April, just a few days from now, next Saturday. The count, 1 ball and 1 strike.
And he has unlimited potential, John. I think this guy can be a great, great player. When I talked to Omar Minaya, he never wanted to trade him because he always thought that Millage would be great. Minaya, of course, is the general manager of the Mets, who did make the trade finally.
His averages last year, he played in 59 games, and a wild throw by Hudson. And Guzman can run for a while. A long way to go for Teixeira. Guzman is already to third just as Teixeira gets to the ball, and he smartly throws all the way home.
Well, Hudson has a quick move, but you can see he'll get the error on that because he throws it to the outfield side. And there was no chance for Teixeira to stop it. Guzman hustling all the way, but he wisely holds up at third base. With no one out, you do not want to get a runner thrown out at the plate.
A ball and a strike to Millage. Now a runner at third, nobody out. The middle infielders stay back deep. And he chased that one.
Like a high slider he got away with there. John, you know, a lot of people may remember Lastings Millage when he came up with the Mets. He got a hit, and he was going out to the outfield to pick his defensive position. He was slapping hands along the first baseline, and a lot of veteran players and a lot of people thought that was bush league.
1-2, and that slider misses.
You know, I didn't understand it. I actually thought it was great. I mean, you're interacting with the fans. And Green Bay, they jump into the stands after you score a touchdown. I mean, I've seen LeBron James run down the court slapping hands with Spike Lee and guys on the court. I didn't see the problem with him showing a little love for his fans.
Well, even some of his teammates had a problem with it.
Yeah.
And he makes contact, 2-2.
And I just thought it was in enthusiasm and joy of a young player. I mean, he just This was his first career home run.
This was against Armando Benitez of the Giants, and it tied the game in the 10th inning, so it was a huge home run. And then afterward,
I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that personally, but
that ball fouled away, the fastball at 93 miles an hour from Hudson, so Millage hanging tough. But some of the Mets players thought, number one, it was kind of brash for such a raw young rookie to do that, and they were concerned that the Giants were going to take exception to it and that there might have been perhaps retribution. 2-2. Strike 3 call at the knees. Now that is a prototype Hudson pitch right there.
Sinking fastball back on the inside corner. He had him off balance because he had thrown him a couple of sliders away, and Millage undoubtedly was looking for a slider away. Well, the pitch is supposed to be outside, but it's pretty much over the middle inner half anyway, and it definitely was high enough according to K-Zone, and I believe K-Zone.
I swear by K-Zone. Here's Ryan Zimmerman. Still a runner at third. Millage was not able to get Guzman home. Just a ground ball, and one of the middle infielders would have done it.
And that's one of the things that young players have to learn. At times, you just have to make sure you put the ball in play to get the runner home. You don't have to worry about hitting the ball out of the ballpark or even getting a base hit. Just put the ball in play.
23-year-old Ryan Zimmerman out of the University of Virginia. Pops it foul, and that will be out of play. 1 ball and 1 strike. Now Zimmerman
is an RBI man.
2 full years. He's had 110 RBIs. That was his first full year. And then 91 RBIs last year after a very slow start.
I think he's the only rookie in the history of the game, John, to drive in 100 runs his first year and not be Rookie of the Year.
He finished second in the Rookie of the Year balloting to Hanley Ramirez of the Marlins that year. And it was hard to argue against Hanley Ramirez.
And Hanley Ramirez may end up being one of the best players in the league this year, if not the best player. I think he has the potential to be the best player in the league. And he's got great ability, speed, power, defense. I mean, he has everything.
You finished second in the Rookie of the Year balloting in '65. You went on to the Hall of Fame. So he'll take that.
Yeah.
He might like to have won that award.
Yeah.
But the Hall of Fame might be a little bit nicer. Jim Lefevre was the Rookie of the Year in 1965. You finished second.
Correct.
It's the only time you ever finished second the rest of your career.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I do remember that. And not fondly, I might add.
So you're a little unhappy I even brought it up.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we'd been together long enough you wouldn't bring up those types of things.
I saw a note, I think it was from our friend Bill James, the stats guru, that there were 8 members of the Hall of Fame who finished second in the Rookie of the Year voting.
That's a good stat. Now I feel better.
Maybe Zimmerman will feel better if somebody tells him about it. Runner at third. RBI situation here. There's Hudson keeping the ball down. But a ground ball could get the job done.
Yeah. But again, young players have to learn, you know, as I said with Lasting Millage, he was in the perfect position. Just put the ball in play and get the run home. And those are the things you learn, you know, as you become more experienced in the game, what you have to do in certain situations. That's called situational hitting rather than just going up there to hit. Man.
There's that low fastball. He struck him out. 2 straight strikeouts with a runner at third by Hudson. This ESPN telecast is available in high definition on ESPN HD, presented by Olivia. To look at the area out beyond center field, left center field, the red loft and the red porch. It was a big party, Joe, that we were invited to, and we couldn't make it out there. And this is a town, Joe, you get invited to a big party, that's quite an honor.
Especially in Washington, you're right.
But we just couldn't quite make it.
There's the red porch.
The red porch and the red loft above. I'm going to try and give you an idea of this beautiful new ballpark as we watch Watch the ball game this evening, the first game at Nationals Park. Runner at third, Nick Johnson back. And Nick Johnson was the nephew of Larry Bowen, longtime big leaguer, former manager, now a coach. Nick Johnson from Sacramento, California, 7th year in the big leagues. Always known for a high on-base percentage. He got some power, hits well for average, but very particular play. Gets a lot of walks year in and year out, but he missed all of last year recovering from a broken leg. Guzman at third, 2 down. High and tight from Hudson there. A check swing, an appeal made. The third base umpire, Andy Fletcher, denied. It's a cool night, that's for sure. 49 degrees. There's a little wind blowing.
It's a lot warmer now than it was earlier, though.
That's because you and I are up here in the booth together.
Yeah, well, it was cold in the booth earlier.
1-2 the count. And that is a base hit, and that is the first run in National Park history. And Johnson's going to test him. Chief! And the throw goes right through the infield. Nicely backed up by Matt Diaz, the left fielder, and throw in by Francoeur. Got right by everybody. So Nick Johnson has knocked in the first run at Nationals Park.
Well, he breaks his bat on the sinker or slider that runs inside, slider that runs in. He gets it on the handle, but he has enough strength to muscle it to the outfield. And as you said, you can hear the bat break. But he drives in the first run in the new ballpark. And a lot of people do not test Jeff Francoeur. He led the league in assists last year, and they do not test him very often. But Nick Johnson,
a guy coming back from a broken leg, testing Jeff Francoeur, and he beat him. That's the first extra base hit and first RBI at Nationals Park. I'm noting all of the firsts for the record, Joe. We can see the Capitol building, the Capitol Rotunda, and the dome, and all that stuff. We can see where the rotunda is from here. And I'm thinking of the congressional record, Joe.
Okay.
I want everything to be for the record, on the record.
When we were flying in, Marty Aronoff, who lives in Washington, was pointing out all those things to me. The Lincoln Memorial, the Washington Memorial, the Lincoln Memorial, and all these things right down the line there. We fly over.
There's a big white house that was almost looked like it was right in the middle of the city.
What was that?
I don't know, but
I think that's the
guy who lives there is supposed to come on with us.
Yeah.
2-1 the count to Austin Kearns. There's Tim Hudson. He was 1 strike away from getting out of this jam. And then Nick Johnson,
who is a good hitter, good 2-strike hitter,
would not go down. And we saw on K-zone, he actually went out of the strike zone a little bit to get that pitch. And that's a base hit. Here comes Johnson. Francoeur with a great arm. He's going to try it again. The throw offline. And into second base goes Kearns. 2-0 Nationals.
And it's a little thing, but the fact that Nick Johnson took that extra base on his RBI hit, it allows Kearns to drive in a run and move to second base himself. That's good hitting right there. Fastball down and away, and he just goes the other way with it. He didn't try to pull it. And you see he continues on to second base, which is the smart play. There's a play at the plate with 2 outs. You should make them cut it off rather than give them a chance to the guy at the plate. If they cut it off and take you, it's okay. But there's Nick Johnson. You say he's running well, John. It doesn't look like he has any after effects of that broken leg.
Nick Johnson,
great hustle there, and that's that sign we talked about at the beginning. You know, someone may be watching you for the first time. It means you hustle on every play.
It's almost as if Nick Johnson is celebrating his health, celebrating that he's back from the broken leg. There's always some kid who may be seeing it for the first time. I owe him my best. The words of Joe DiMaggio in the tunnel running from the Washington clubhouse to the Washington dugout here at Nationals Park.
And I guarantee you there are some kids here who are seeing Nick Johnson for the first time since he wasn't here last year.
And they love him.
Yeah, so far.
He has to be pretty good because He beat out Dimitri Young, who was the best hitter in the Nationals last year in Johnson's absence.
And I talked to Dimitri before the game because I wanted to make sure health-wise he was okay. And he said he was okay, but he said it was a manager's decision. So so far it looks like Manny Acta made the right decision.
Dimitri, and I give the fans here credit for their knowledge of this team. Dimitri Young got a huge ovation, one of the biggest ovations of any of the National players during the pregame introductions. He hit .320 for the Nationals last year on a team that had trouble scoring runs. Austin Kearns trying to deliver in the clutch, and he was very poor in the clutch last year for the Nats. He's got power. I said Kearns. He's already delivered in the clutch right here, which is one of the keys for them scoring more runs than they did last year. He's already delivered. Now Paul Lo Duca in his first game with the Nats trying to deliver Austin Kearns in the clutch. It's a little bit low.
Well, Lo Duca's a veteran hitter. He's learned how to, drive in runs in clutch situations. But the one thing about it, hitters, when you find out your weaknesses as well as your strength, that's when you become a good hitter. And you can see lays off that low sinker of Tim Hudson. You know what his best pitch is. Just do not chase the ball down. That's what he's thinking when he's up there at the plate now. Got to pitch up.
That's how to play. 28, as you say, pitches has become a high-stress inning for Tim Hudson. But going back to Nick Johnson, Joe, legging out what looked like a sure single, because he's not a real fast guy, broken leg or not, but he turned it into a double. And I know so many times over the years you talked about with 2 down, if it's at all possible, you want to get that extra base and get into scoring position. So that's why he did it. That's why he took the chance.
It's always the risk versus the reward.
Very softly hit by Lo Duca, and Chipper Jones throws him out. But the Nationals get two out runs. Rodales Perez will be back to the hill with a 2-0 lead. The first game at Nationals Park in Washington, D.C. The Nationals themselves got a first look at this ballpark as they lead 2-0 when they arrived in from Florida from spring training on Thursday night, and they were all anxious. They came right from the airport over here to have a look. Dimitri Young off the bus, Nick Johnson strolling through the clubhouse with his teammates, and then onto the field itself. Listen to Dimitri Young here in a moment. Wow. So immediate love as Jeff Francoeur, first ball swinging against Rodales Perez, thrown out by Ryan Zimmerman, and there is one away.
There's nothing like going to a new house.
There's a lot of curiosity. They're all anxious to see it, and then they just lingered around. They went out to the pitcher's mound, onto the infield, and just took it all in.
No, man, you're still going down the slope. It's just like going home.
And there was not a negative word to be heard from those Nationals who've been playing over at RFK Stadium. And they found it, although with a lot of history, they were sharing it with the soccer team from Major League Soccer, and now they've got their own home, and it's a beauty. And they were all enamored immediately. That clubhouse, by the way, Joe, we saw him walking through that club. It's shaped just like the Oval Office at the White House. It's an oval clubhouse, sort of a Washington thing right there as the catcher Brian McCann fouls one back out of play. 0-2. Peter Gammons has toured both of those clubhouses. Peter?
Well, John, first of all, they're huge. Biggest visiting clubhouse there is, but the home clubhouse is spectacular. I mean, right down to the fact that they have high-speed internet access and iPod chargers in every locker for every player. That's a terrific thing.
Yeah. McCann belts one into right field deep. That ball is still going. That ball is off the top of the wall. The carom played by Kearns. The throw to second, and not this time for Brian McCann. Thrown out by Belliard in the relay from Kearns.
Well, Brian McCann is one of the better hitters for a catcher in Major League Baseball. I mean, he has such a nice, compact swing. He rips this ball. It's about 2 feet from going out of the ballpark, it looked like. Yeah. And then it turns into a long single and an out trying to stretch it into a double. And a nice relay by Ron Belliard.
Hit your cutoff man.
Hit your cutoff man. It's interesting that Belliard made that play because, you know, Lopez was the starting shortstop, the second baseman last year, and he makes a lot of money. And Belliard is the guy now. He's their second baseman. He beat him out in spring training.
Ron Belliard with the assist there. Matt Diaz, the hitter. Slider missing. 2 balls, no strikes, facing Odalis Perez. Now with 1 out, being a catcher and all, that was kind of risky down by 2 runs.
Especially when you're 2 runs down. But
right to the second baseman, Belliard, who's in the shallow outfield. And the inning is over. 7-pitch inning there for Odalis Perez. He and the Nationals have a 2-0 lead over Atlanta. We'll be back at beautiful Nationals Park. Yankee Stadium and the final season at the house that Ruth built will open tomorrow afternoon on ESPN. The Yankees and the Toronto Blue Jays. The Nationals here in Washington. Opening night, leading the Atlanta Braves 2-0. Tim Hudson, after a laborious first inning, back to work. First ball swinging. Elijah Dukes, center field, the deepest part of the yard, and Katze. There is 1 away. Yankee Stadium was renovated, and then in '76 it reopened, and the All-Star game was there that year. And Joe Morgan led off the All-Star game for the National League against Jim Palmer. Gone. You led off that All-Star game and hit a home run against Palmer. You made your presence felt at the big ballpark in the Bronx.
Well, that's the only home run I ever hit at Yankee Stadium, but it was thrilling, to say the least.
Your National League team beat the American League 7-5. First game ever played at Yankee Stadium. The Yankees beat the Red Sox in 1923. The Babe hit a home run, the first home run in that ballpark's history. The New York Giants football team also played there. There have been heavyweight championship boxing. In fact, some of the most historic ever, as Ronnie Belliard, picked up by Chipper Jones, and Belliard is out number 2. This is what Hudson needs. He needs a quick inning here. But Joe, you certainly made your presence felt in that All-Star game in 1976 with a home run against Jim Palmer. And then later on, not only did both of you go in the Hall of Fame, you both went in the same year.
Yeah. You always remember who you went into the Hall of Fame with. We're joined at the hip forever.
Who had the best speech, you think?
I can't remember mine. I was so nervous I can't even remember it, to be honest with you, John. I can't remember.
Jim Palmer's pretty smooth.
Yeah.
Pretty good speaker.
I think he was a little shaky that day, too.
No.
Yeah. He said he was so glad that he got to do his first.
0-2 the count to Odalis Perez. President Bush will be coming on with us here shortly. He threw out the first pitch tonight, and that's strike 3 to Odalis Perez, and it was a quick inning for Hudson. A 29-pitch first inning, only 7 here in this second. We'll come back and visit with the president, the first fan of baseball.
ESPN Opening Night Baseball, built by the Home Depot. Brought to you by Budweiser. Reach for the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager. And Bank of America. Sign up for Major League Baseball banking only at Bank of America. Bank of Opportunity.
We are in Washington, D.C. The Washington Nationals in their new, beautiful ballpark. And the first pitch of the third from Odalis Perez is popped up by Mark Katze. And the right fielder Kearns calls off Belliard, and there is 1 away. Tonight is the presidential opener. The 43rd president of the United States, George W. Bush, threw out the ceremonial first pitch and threw it well. Joe Morgan, no less an authority, praised that throw.
That's the best I've ever seen. That's some high heat.
Well, thank you very much. It's I was thrilled to be here.
We're thrilled to have you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Now, I remember Joe and I did a game in Arlington, Texas. It was an opening night. And President George H.W. Bush, the 41st president, was there for the ceremonial first pitch that night for your Rangers.
That's right.
I don't know if you had some connections with the president at that time, but you got him down there. And he ended up, as I recall, warming up with Joe Morgan under the stands for that first pitch.
But I have to say, he wasn't as good as you. The problem he had is he warmed up too long. His arms started to hurt.
Yeah, it wasn't his battery, mate.
No. It wasn't.
Joe did. He coached him beautifully. The batter is Tim Hudson.
Beautiful park, isn't it?
Magnificent.
Beautiful. I think they just did a fabulous job with it, and they did it in a hurry. I was told by Stan Kasten, the president of the ball club, they did it in 22 months.
Yeah.
It usually takes nearly 3 years to build a ballpark, and that one caught by Austin Kearns at number 2. But I wanted to know, did you warm up for this first pitch tonight?
I did with Jose Rio.
Oh. I was going to say, I think you know how long it takes to get certain things done in Washington, right?
That's right. But I'm real proud for the city. This is going to be good for Washington. And the view of the Capitol up here is great.
It is spectacular. I'd like to be able to get out of the booth and look around at some of the various views. I understand you can see the Washington Monument from some places. You can see the river. Now, you're a huge baseball fan. You were involved with the Texas Rangers. You put together the investment group and were the president of the Rangers for several years. Can you get behind this Washington team, or is it too difficult because you're so into the Rangers?
Well, I'm pretty much a Ranger Astros guy.
Texas.
Well, not only Texas, but you know, you might remember the Astros had some great players in the past. One of whom was sitting right here. He was one of my all-time favorites.
Thank you. You know, I wanted to remind John, we were on a plane once, the two of us. We were sitting there, and you said we should go to John McMullen, tell him that you would run the team for him, and that I could be the general manager.
That's right.
Right? So I wasn't enamored by that proposition, but 2 years later, you bought the Texas Rangers.
I remember that very well.
Remember that conversation?
Very well.
Yeah.
And you didn't bring Joe in to run the Rangers.
Maybe that's why we didn't win any World Series.
President Bush is here with us, the presidential opener here in Washington, a long-time Washington tradition. Started President Taft in 1910, and probably the most memorable opening pitch I've ever seen was 2001 at Yankee Stadium when you threw out the first pitch. But within a few weeks of September 11th, the pickoff there, and Kelly Johnson thrown out by Nick Johnson. Nice throw to second there by Nick Johnson to get him. So the inning is over just like that. We'll have more with President Bush talking some baseball from Nationals Park, the beautiful new ballpark here in downtown Washington. The traditional presidential opener in Washington, D.C. Our national pastime beginning again. Tonight, President Bush threw out the ceremonial first pitch before the sellout crowd here in the first game at New Nationals Park. Christian Guzman, who got the first hit in this ballpark, takes strike one. And let's go back and revisit that first pitch. Joe mentioned it was thrown so well by President Bush to Manny Acta. High heat, you called it, Joe.
High heat.
Broken bat, Katse in shallow center, and Guzman is gone. But I started to recall 2001 because that was a time and a place where emotions were raw. The New Yorkers were on the front lines, and you came out there at Yankee Stadium before the huge crowd, and the fans started chanting USA, USA. I mean, it had to be an amazing moment for you.
It was a nerve-wracking moment, and it was very emotional, and I was touched, and the raw emotion at the stadium was, palpable. It was a really amazing experience.
Lastings Millage grounds out to the first baseman Teixeira, and 2 men down. Now, before you threw out that pitch, Derek Jeter did a little coaching for you that night.
He asked me if I was going to throw from the mound, and I said, what do you think? He said, well, you need to throw from the mound. I said, okay, I will. He said, but don't bounce it. Put a little pressure on me.
Well, usually we see these ceremonial first pitches, right, Joe? The people stand at the front of the mound. They kind of lob it in there. It bounces a lot. But you go right up on the mound. You don't see that very often.
Well, I didn't want to bounce it, that's for certain. That's why I came in with high heat. Thank goodness you didn't put that little strike zone up there, you know, that you've got.
The K zone.
The K zone, yeah.
Well, we might have had it on.
But I don't think it had measured. I think it wouldn't have been even close to the box itself.
Well, are your Rangers going to be good this year? They got Nolan Ryan as the president of the Rangers now.
Right. I talked to Nolan about that. I saw him on another matter, and he wanted to get into the baseball, business side of baseball. He's got an ownership in the AAA and AA for the Astros, Round Rock and Corpus. He and his family.
Escobar, nice play.
Very nice play.
We've had 2 quick innings. Can we impose upon you for another half inning?
Sure, absolutely love to.
The President of the United States, George W. Bush, is with us. We're in Washington. Baseball's opening night. The Nationals lead the Braves 2-0. Escobar, Chipper Jones, and Teixeira coming up. Baseball in Washington. Baseball was not in Washington for a good long time. And finally, the Montreal Expos were moved here by Major League Baseball, and now a brand new ballpark and a beauty. Tonight, the presidential opener as Odalis Perez throws ball 1 to Yunel Escobar. President Bush, who threw out the first pitch, is here in the booth with us. And thanks very much for coming on with us.
It's an honor to be here. You know, I actually saw the Senators when my grandfather was a United States Senator from Connecticut. He took me to see the Senators in Old Griffith Stadium.
So
you go way back.
I did.
When did you see your first Major League game?
Polo Grounds for the Giants.
Wow.
Versus Milwaukee Braves.
I always wanted to see a game at the Polo Grounds, but it disappeared when I was just still a
babe.
Just a babe. Didn't have a chance.
Well, you know what? I want to take a look at this pitch that you threw, the high heat.
Right.
I want to take a look at it on K-Zone. Let's see what happened there.
Because you think it was a little too high, right? But we'll find out. K-Zone will decide.
I felt it was a strike, didn't you?
I thought it was right in there. The upper reaches of the strike zone.
Yeah, upper reaches.
But they're calling that high strike now.
That's the new thing, the high strike.
Yunel Escobar, the hitter, 3-1, facing Perez. The sluggers, Chipper Jones, Mark Teixeira coming up next. And that's Belliard. 1 away. Take it, Joe.
All right, let's take a look at this. Let's see. Let's get the K-Zone in there. Let's see.
That's the M zone.
Let's see where this pitch is. There it is. Uh-oh. It's still a little out of the strike zone. Still a little high.
With 2 strikes, I think you get the guy chasing.
Well, yeah.
You don't want to just groove one on 2 strikes.
Well, you know, I talked about you buying the Texas Rangers after our conversation, and I just wonder myself, is there any interest on your half to get back in the?
I think I'm pretty much going to be a fan.
Be a fan.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do, but I love the game. I watch a lot of it. I actually watch you 2 guys quite a bit, at least on Sunday night.
Well, I was hoping you'd buy a team and then I could get another job.
Another shot?
Yeah, another shot. But if you buy another team now.
Yeah.
Chipper Jones whacks one deep left center.
Looks like he may have the first home run in this ballpark.
As called by President George W. Bush.
Yes, it is. First home run. And that thing was a rope.
So it is 2-1 Washington, and Chipper Jones in his 14th opener hits the first home run in the new ballpark here along the Anacostia River.
He blasted that thing, didn't he? Here it is. Yeah.
Pretty much down the middle.
Down the middle. If the guy had pitched the pitch I pitched, he wouldn't have hit it out of here.
No, he wouldn't have hit it out. It's ironic because that's the pitch that Chipper popped up the first time up. He got a fastball pretty much in the middle of the plate and missed it. And actually, I said at the time, if he gets a lot of those, he's going to hit a lot of home runs. He got another one.
Here's one of your former Ranger guys.
Teixeira, yeah. He's a good player. Really good player.
It's a pretty good combo in that lineup. Chipper Jones
Looks
and
like it.
Teixeira.
Yeah. Some of these guys came by the Oval Office the other day, some of the Atlanta Braves last year, and very impressive people. Francoeur came.
Jeff Francoeur, a young guy, but if you spend 1 or 2 minutes talking with him, you have to love him.
He's a really nice guy. got hit in the mouth in spring training.
There he is. And that really frightened a lot of people because he had been beamed while he was in the minor leagues and fractured the orbital bone around the eye.
Exactly.
It's a very serious injury. Teixeira with the broken bat. Guzman. And that is out number 2. You ever think maybe you'd like to go into play-by-play? Joe's been trying to get rid of me and hire somebody else.
They say I got a lot of hot air, you know, so maybe I'm well suited for it.
Now, at your State of the Union address in 2004,
right,
you brought up sort of nationally the steroid issue in baseball, and you urged the players, the union people, the owners to get together and get rid of steroids from the game. Now, since that time, there's been movement. Are you satisfied? Are you happy with the kind of movement that's been made?
I'm happy with the recognition that it was a problem, and you know, the question is will they be developing these sophisticated, you know, stuff that'll make it hard to detect. But I certainly hope the players continue to work to clean up the sport. That's what fans like me and fans like you want. They want these records intact.
Well, I'm like you. I think both the players and the owners have recognized that there is a problem,
right,
and they're trying to find a way that they both can live with, you know, to clean up the sport. But like you, it's going to be difficult because of the designer drugs.
Yeah.
They say there's more money in designing them than it is to catch the guy, so that makes it more difficult.
It's just, you know, it's too bad because it's such a fabulous sport. One of the great things about the sport is you can take the records of Joe Morgan and compare them to the next speedy second baseman and get some kind of, you know, historical relevance. And so this era is a little distorted, but still hard to play the game.
Well, in my opinion, you know, that's what I wanted from the Mitchell report.
Yeah.
You know, what did you actually think of the Mitchell report?
You know, I thought it was a part of the cleansing process, the healing process. You know, I mean, the great thing about baseball is you don't have to be a giant to play it.
Correct.
As you know.
Yeah.
And, but fast and hands, I mean, you know, the normal-sized person can play it. And it's a great sport. You know, I tell you, I'm glad you gave me a chance to visit with you. One of my real wishes is that baseball would get back into inner city America.
Right.
It's such fabulous opportunities for some of these kids, you know. And it's contracts are better in baseball if you can make the team. You play longer. And the skills, you know, a lot of our inner city kids have got the skills necessary to play. They just need exposure and for the sport to be accepted better.
I think exposure is the key there, you know, in the inner city. I think, and one of the things that has happened is that basketball they hold clinics in the inner city. They do a lot of different things in the inner city to get the kids interested in their sport. We need to do more of that. And as you're saying, to bring more awareness in the inner city so the kids will be a little more excited about playing the game.
Maybe this ballpark here in Washington will help that happen right here in D.C. That ball hits the bag. Zimmerman let it roll, hoping it would go foul, but Francoeur gets himself an infield hit.
You know, one of the fun things we've done at the White House is host T-ball in the South Lawn, all aiming just to bring more exposure to Little League baseball and encourage kids to play.
I actually got invited to that, but you didn't invite me.
Who did, Laura?
No, your dad did.
Oh, he did? Well, you know what? Yeah, I think you're invited, Joe.
Okay. Actually, it is a fabulous thing that you do there at the White House.
It's
because
fun.
I went with your dad, Stan Musial. A lot of the great players went there, and it does bring a lot of the kids to the White House. And to be able to play baseball on the White House lawn, that's pretty cool.
It is good. It's fun.
George Will, the syndicated columnist and political commentator for ABC television. He was part of our pregame ceremonies tonight on ESPN. There's the First Lady.
Yes, there she is.
Is she a baseball fan too?
Absolutely. You know, some of the best times of our life were when we were with the Rangers. And we took our little girls to baseball games and hung out with our friends at the ballpark. It's a really good time for our family.
But George Will, every year since you've been president, has put on a special baseball dinner held at the White House.
Right. That's one way to put it, or the other way to put it is George W. Bush has put on the dinner, and George Will
attends.
Well, no, he puts together the list.
Well, I know everybody who goes loves it.
Well, thank you, sir.
President Bush, the First Lady here at the new ballpark in Washington, the presidential opener. Our sincere thanks for your coming on with us tonight. It was a pleasure.
Enjoyed it.
I wasn't ready
Joe?
for you to go, but if you have to go,
Well,
you have
you
to go. You got other things to do.
Gotta go. He's got to go to Europe. He got NATO stuff.
First thing in the morning, we're heading off to Ukraine.
All right.
Thank
All
you.
the best to you.
Have a
You
good
bet.
time.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Joe.
Right. President George W. Bush, the presidential opener. He threw out the first one tonight as people all around the ballpark captured the moment with their digital cameras. Baseball is back. Last of the fourth inning, and Nick Johnson, who really got everything going in that 2-run first inning for the Nationals. He got a 2-out, 2-strike double to knock in the first run. They had some other presidents here tonight, Joe. Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln, and T.R. Theodore Roosevelt. And they had a race. Uh-oh. Jefferson went down. And George Washington, wait a minute. Where did T.R. come from? They say that Teddy Roosevelt has never won the president's race here in Washington, which they began, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. But it's something they do. It's a lot of fun, and it was kind of clever, I thought. Nick Johnson, his double in the first inning was his first hit since 2006. And he got his first RBI since 2006 at the same time. Deep center, Kotze on the run. He gets there. And he'll be compared, I'm sure, Joe, anytime a ball gets over him, to his predecessor, Andrew Jones, who's about the best in the game for a long, long time.
And that's going to happen, you're right, but I think it's a little unfair to do that. But, you know, Bobby Cox has said that Andrew Jones is the best center fielder he's ever seen. So he's going to definitely be compared. And Andrew Jones covered a lot of territory there in the outfield for the Atlanta Braves.
Austin Kearns, who singled home Nick Johnson in the first inning, a 2-run rally, two out RBI hits in succession from Johnson and Kearns. Kearns last year struggled mightily the first half of the year, and a lot of people around here think that his power numbers are going to improve. The Nationals' previous park, RFK Stadium, proved to be the toughest park in Major League Baseball in which to hit a home run the last 3 years that the Nationals played there. 2-1 the count. Whether this will be a home run park or not, or a pitcher's park, remains to be seen.
Well, in talking to the players, John, they say that down the lines the ball carries very well. There's kind of a jet stream out there. In center field as well, they said the alleys are a little tougher.
Tim Hudson, excellent fielding pitcher as well. He does a lot of things well. And 2 men are gone. Now, here's Dari Noka with a SportsCenter update.
All right, John, thank you. For the first time in NCAA tournament history, 4 1 seeds comprise the Final Four. Memphis beat Texas by 18, while Kansas escaped 10-seed Davidson. Those two teams joined North Carolina and UCLA in San Antonio. After 2 top 3 finishes there, Denny Hamlin finally wins at Martinsville. Jeff Gordon finished second, and Jeff Burton third. More details on SportsCenter after the game, and you can stay current with ESPN News, now available in high def. Gentlemen.
Thanks, Dari. And 1 strike to Paul Loduca in his first game as a Nat. Tim Hudson seems to have found himself, Joe, after that rugged first inning. He's retired 9 in a row. This should be 10. Yunel Escobar. And he's making it look easy now. So he's turned this thing around. Manny Actor, the manager of the Nationals, will visit with us from the Washington dugout when we come back. On to the 5th inning. And the Nationals lead the Atlanta Braves 2-1. ESPN's opening night baseball is built by the Home Depot. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan and Peter Gammons. Nationals Park, and the manager of the Washington Nationals joins us now from the Nationals dugout, Manny Acta. Manny, welcome.
Thank you, John.
Manny, first, congratulations on the great season that you promoted here last year. But I want to ask you a question, and it looks like you're getting these guys to hustle, whatever. Nick Johnson, that's the kind of example that I'm sure you want these guys to follow.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys like Nick, Ryan Zimmerman, and Austin Kearns, they set the tone, and that's all we ask. Give us everything you got and play the game right, and good things will happen.
Interesting, last year Lopez was your star. Now you have Belliard. Last year Delman Young had a great season, and now Nick Johnson's back in there.
Yes, we're thrilled to have him back. We're very happy for the young man. He was able to bounce back from that tough injury, and he's a great part of our lineup because he brings a lot to the table with his on-base percentage, his good defense, and also gives us depth now with Dimitri Young and Felipe Lopez on as a backups.
Manny, how long could Odanis Perez go tonight?
Well, this inning will tell us, because the fifth inning is actually the most important one. Pitchers start thinking about it right away. They know that they have to go 5 to win it, and hopefully he's not thinking about it right now. Have a quick one, and he could go 6-7 innings. He's already stretched out, but we'll see what the Braves allowed him to go.
I appreciate you, Manny. Thanks for coming on with us.
All right, guys.
Manny Acta, and that one right through the legs of Christian Guzman, and Matt Diaz is safe at first. And I asked that question, Joe, about how long Perez could go, because Perez did not actually make a start in an exhibition game till March 15th. Not just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, you're right. But what happens here is Christened Guzman gets an in-between hop, and he didn't stay down on it. He anticipated bouncing higher. As you can see, he brings his hands up, and the ball stays down.
I have a theory about that. I think it happens a lot early in the season when guys come up from Florida or Arizona, because they're used to bad hops on those fields that aren't quite major league quality. What do you think? What do you think about
Well, this is also a new field. I mean, remember, they haven't played here. They had an exhibition game last night, but they haven't had a chance to get fully adapting. They haven't had a chance to adapt themselves fully to the hops on the infield.
Back to first goes Diaz.
I said I talked to Dimitri Young earlier in the game, and he said he's feel good. I watched him in batting practice. He's swinging the bat well. He still feels like he's got a little ways to go as far as getting in tip-top shape, but he says he's swinging the bat well. And he did lead the team in hitting last year, so it's kind of interesting. But he's right. Nick Johnson's an excellent defensive first baseman. So that helps your pitching staff and your infielders.
Mark Kotsay, the hitter, flied out to shallow right his first time, coming off his worst season in the big leagues. With the Oakland Athletics, he had a lot of back problems, had some back surgery in the spring before last year. And they picked him up from Oakland in exchange for a couple of young pitchers, Joey Devine and Jamie Richmond, his 12th year in the big leagues, a .282 lifetime hitter. They had need for a center fielder because Andrew Jones left as a free agent, signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Kotsay, 1995 out of Cal State Fullerton, College Player of the Year, won the College World Series title, and the next year won the Golden Spikes Award, emblematic of the best player in college baseball. Was the 9th pick by the Florida Marlins that year, made his major league debut the next year. Left center field. Elijah Dukes with Milledge right behind him. Kotsay is out number 1. Diaz back to first. A lot of action tomorrow. Opening day continues. A doubleheader on ESPN. First at 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 Pacific. Yankee Stadium's final season, opening day. And Alex Rodriguez and the Yankees will host the Toronto Blue Jays, a very fine club. 4 Eastern, Joe Torre, now the manager of the Dodgers. And they'll open against their storied rivals, the Giants, at Dodger Stadium. Opening day baseball built by the Home Depot on ESPN tomorrow. Yankee Stadium and then over to Dodger Stadium in an ESPN doubleheader. We'll have also other games on ESPN too. You and I, Joe, are ticketed for Minneapolis, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, to take on the Twins, and Torrey Hunter will play his first game for the Angels, and he'll play it at the Metrodome, where he played his entire career up till now. Be 3 games on ESPN2 tomorrow. Starting with the Brewers. Prince Fielder had 50 home runs last year, and they'll take on Alfonso Soriano and the Cubs at Wrigley Field. And it's 7 Eastern. Joe and I will be at the Metrodome. Torrey Hunter and the Angels against Justin Morneau and the Twins. And then at 10 Eastern, Roy Oswalt and Jake Peavy. Great matchup in San Diego. The Astros and the Padres. Opening day baseball built by the Home Depot on ESPN2 tomorrow. Tim Hudson fouled that first one off. Gets this one down. That will work. Odalis Perez with Belliard covering. And Diaz has been moved over to second base. 2 down again. Our sincere appreciation to President George Bush for coming on the air with us very kindly. And he is heading over to Europe tomorrow for some sort of a NATO summit. And now a conference on the mound. Pitching coach is Randy St. Clair for the Nationals, talking to Odalis Perez. Tonight, the presidential opener in Washington at the beautiful new ballpark down on South Capitol Street. William Howard Taft started the tradition back in 1910 with the old Washington American League team. 12 presidents have thrown out first pitches in D.C. home openers. 48th time tonight. FDR, who was president for longer than anybody else, threw out 8 first pitches. And that's the record. And in the old days, Joe, when they would have these first pitch ceremonies, the players from both teams would sort of line up in front of the president. He would be in a box seat right down near the field. And he'd kind of toss it out there, and there'd be a free-for-all. The guy's trying to get that ball, because whichever guy came up with the ball could take it to the president, and he would sign the ball for him. This is JFK, John F. Kennedy, 1961. Look what happened here.
He didn't have the high hard one, though. He only reached the first player.
Yogi Berra with the Yankees said when he would be here, when the Yankees would be there, he would never get involved in that because his guys would get spiked. Guys would get injured going for that ball. Much coveted. Kelly Johnson is out. Diaz stranded at second. Still 2-1 Washington as we head to the last of the 5th inning.
ESPN Opening Night Baseball, built by the Home Depot. Brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. And Chevy, an American Revolution.
And that is the somber, very respectful World War II memorial on the Capitol Mall near the Washington Monument. We're close by at brand new Nationals Park. And Elijah Dukes, who flied out to center his first time, is thrown out here by Chipper Jones. 1 pitch and out for young Elijah Dukes. 1 down, and Ron Belliard will come up. 2-1, the Nationals are leading the Atlanta Braves. We've been now since the White Sox opened their new ballpark in 1991. Which is now called U.S. Cellular Field. 20 of the current 30 Major League ballparks have opened since that time. The next year, Camden Yards opened over in Baltimore. It's only 40-45 miles from here. Camden Yards kind of changed everything in terms of baseball architecture, yes. Baseball new building. And here in Washington, they didn't do anything close to a Camden Yards clone, and it really is a beautiful ballpark. Camden Yards still, when you go there, you look at it and say, man, this is about as good as a stadium could get. Along the old B&O warehouse near the Baltimore Inner Harbor, they'll open there tomorrow, another opener for the Orioles. But this is just a special ballpark here. Yunel Escobar throws out Ron Belliard. 2 down. 12 in a row retired by Tim Hudson. Just since 2000, these ballparks have opened. Comerica Park in Detroit, which may be sold out all season. Minute Maid Park in Houston. AT&T Park in San Francisco. Miller Park in Milwaukee with the retractable roof. Pittsburgh, beautiful yard there. Great American ballpark in Cincinnati. Citizens Bank Park up the road in Philadelphia. Petco Park, San Diego. The new Busch Stadium in St. Louis, and Nationals Park right here in Washington, opening tonight. Rob Makoviak is pinch hitting for Odalis Perez. So Perez went 5. The Nationals bullpen has got double-barreled activity going. Let me go into that bullpen post haste as Makoviak is thrown out by Johnson, and Hudson's making it look easy right now. So the Nationals will have either the left-hander Ray King or the right-hander Saul Rivera coming in. Opening night in Washington, and the Nationals, the home team in their new yard, leading the Atlanta Braves 2-1 as we head to the 6th inning. Peter Gammons is here with us, and this Atlanta ball club has got some great players. None of them have been around longer with this club than Chipper Jones in the lineup tonight.
Well, John, Chipper Jones has played his 13 full seasons with the Braves, managed by the man who decided to draft him, and for the team that in that time has won a World Series, 3 pennants, 11 divisional titles, and had 1 losing season. He has won an MVP award and has been the face of a generation of Braves fans who grew up admiring him across the Southeast. At 34, this has become a glorious time in his career. Chipper enjoys the role of a leader of and a teammate with this extraordinary group of young, energetic Braves players. And coming off a 2007 season in which he led all National League hitters in OPS, now is facing his historic place as a surefire Hall of Famer. His slugging and OPS are the best of any third baseman who ever played. His on-base percentage second only to Hall of Famer Wade Boggs. By the end of this season, Chipper should rank in the top 8 all-time third basemen in homers, RBIs, runs, batting average, and total bases. And like Henry Aaron, Tom Glavine, John Smoltz, and Greg Maddux, Chipper Jones has made himself an icon in Atlanta baseball history.
Indeed he has. Thank you, Peter. Smoltz, of course, has been with the club longer. Now Tom Glavine is back with the ball club, but nobody in the lineup tonight has been around longer than Chipper Jones.
And he is a very special player.
There is Saul Rivera. And the Nationals feel that one of their great strengths is their bullpen. And they all seem to have great success this year during the spring. So Rivera has come in, and Willie Harris has gone into left field, replacing Elijah Dukes, which makes you wonder if Dukes got injured as to why he's suddenly out of the game. 1 ball, 1 strike to count to Yunel Escobar. Chipper Jones is out on deck, and then Mark Teixeira to follow him. So after Escobar, you got the big power hitters coming up. The only run of the night for Atlanta, a Chipper Jones home run in the 4th inning against Odalis Perez, and they had to be real pleased with the way Perez pitched tonight, Joe.
Well, he did exactly what they asked him to do, get ahead of the hitters, throw strikes, and then try to change speeds, and he did a good job of that. He only walked 1 hitter.
From behind the bag, Guzman throws out Escobar. 1 away, and that'll bring up Chipper. This was Chipper back in the 4th inning. Batting right-handed. Gave it a long ride. The first home run at Nationals Park. And Chipper will bat from the left side. That's been his stronger side, his more powerful side over the years. Hit .337 last year. Battling injuries all the way through. This is his 16th season in big league ball. .307 lifetime average. And that's a called strike. 9 different years over 100 RBI, but the last 4 years or so, Joe, he's had a hard time staying in the lineup.
He's had some freak injuries last year. Remember, he hurt his thumb jumping over the player at third base trying to avoid a tag. Those are kind of freakish things. They're not just your normal injuries that occurred during the course of a game.
Suffered a terrible injury in San Francisco a couple years back on a wet field on a sort of a rainy day. You see that 2004 137 games, which was low for him already. Then 109 games, 110 games, and back up to 134 last year. He had averaged 155 games a year before that. So that is Chipper's goal, is to get up around 150 again this year. And the Braves' goal for him, because he is such a key man in that lineup. And we see why Saul Rivera can be so tough. 89 miles an hour, and that pitch just disappeared.
Well, you're talking about the bullpen, and that's one of the things that Acta did so well last year. He managed his bullpen. You can see the ball starts down and then really drops out. The bottom drops out of it.
2 down. Here is Teixeira. These are the big sluggers for Atlanta. And Saul Rivera has very coolly and calmly dispatched Chipper Jones. Rivera, 30 years old, from San Juan, Puerto Rico. The workhorse last year in 85 games for the Nats. This is Zimmerman right next to the mound. Well, he went through some of the Braves' biggest hitters on 11 pitches, retired them in order. The Nationals bullpen is in the game. So far, so good. Top of the order coming up. Tonight's ESPN telecast from Washington is available in high definition on ESPN HD, presented by Olivia. Now time for Stat Track, presented by PlayStation, the video game MLB 08, the show. President Bush threw out the 48th ceremonial first pitch by a president here at a Major League game in our nation's capital. The first hit in this ballpark was by the Nationals' Christian Guzman. First home run, though, was by the Atlanta Braves' Chipper Jones. The first batter was Kelly Johnson of the Braves, and Odalis Perez struck him out. So these are names that are now indelibly in the books as part of the history of this ballpark forever. Christian Guzman led off the first inning with a single. He got on the first pitch. He hit a single to right. And then Hudson made a wild pickoff throw, and Guzman went over to third. And then with 2 down, Nick Johnson doubled him home, and Austin Kearns singled Johnson home. They had a 2-run rally. They have not had a base runner, though, since then. Hudson has retired 13 in a row. And that's a ball. 2-2 to Guzman.
And since he's been retiring each hitter, he has not gotten a pitch above the belt. Everything is down. Everything is sinking. His changeup, all his pitches are working, and he's keeping them down like that.
Mark Teixeira, who's one of the best over at first base, and there is one away. Elijah Dukes had left the game in the first half of this inning. We wondered why. Peter Gammons has got a little more info.
Well, I talked to Manny Acta. He did his hamstring tightened up, and they just took him out for precautionary reasons and put Harris in the game.
Well, in cold weather like this, Peter, you know, that's the common thing that happens, especially coming from the warm weather in Florida and all of a sudden having to play in cold weather. Sometimes your body doesn't handle that change very well.
My body didn't handle it well no matter what weather I've just been in. 1 strike the count to Lastings Village. Thanks, Peter. So Elijah Dukes out of the ball game. In Florida, Orlando, where the Braves play, and Vieira, where the Nationals play, in the low 80s today. Here it was 49 degrees at game time as Lastings Village is retired on a comebacker, and people came bundled up ready for it here in Washington.
John, I want to take a quick moment here. You know, Bob Howsam, who was the architect of the Big Red Machine, he put the teams together that were ultimately called the Big Red Machine, and the championship teams that we played on in 75 and 76 passed away a couple of weeks ago. And I just wanted to send my condolences to his family, and especially his wife, Janet, a wonderful, lovely lady. And Bob and I were friends when I played for the Reds, and we remained friends all the years since that time. And obviously, it was an honor for me to be able to attend his funeral and speak on behalf of the other players from the Big Red Machine. So our condolences to Janet and the rest of the family.
Great baseball man.
Great baseball man.
Ryan Zimmerman retired. Everybody's been retired since the first inning. 16 in a row retired by that man, Tim Hudson. 2-1 Washington. Saul Rivera from the Washington bullpen back for his second inning of work, facing Jeff Francoeur. Francoeur, the powerful young right fielder, 24 years old, first-round draft choice for the Braves. 2 straight years over 100 RBIs. And he's thrown out by Guzman. Rivera looking Hudson-like. Here at Nationals Park, on the night of the presidential opener, where President Bush threw out the first pitch, this is the look at the President's Club down behind home plate, where presidents, first pitches, and presidents involved in baseball are commemorated. I don't know a lot about politics, but I do know a lot about baseball, said Richard Nixon. I have a feeling he knew a little bit about politics, though.
Yes. Or he learned very quickly.
And here's a great photo. John F. Kennedy, as a senator from Massachusetts, catching. Scoop Jackson was the hitter. And Senator Mike Mansfield, then the Democratic Majority Leader, was umpiring. McCann, a long run for Kearns, and he tracks it down. So McCann is gone. 2 down. There's the Scoop Jackson, the hitter. What do you think of his style, Joe? Do you like him as a hitter?
I'm checking the Kennedy out. Look at the glove. No string in the fingers. That's an old-time model there.
That is from the olden days.
Yeah, and he didn't even have a mask on.
That looked like the one you used to wear when you were a rookie.
No, it looks more like a Nellie Fox glove, and one I couldn't use.
Matt Diaz, the hitter, with 2 down.
John, one of the things that's great about this ballpark is it becomes an instant cash cow, so to speak, for the Nationals, and it would allow them to, venture out into the free agency market and to, maybe spend a little bit more money on the farm system or whatever you want to do. It allows you to be able to build your franchise whichever way you want. You can add more people to the minor leagues or go out and bring in some new free agents. And I think with this ballpark and being in the setting in Washington, D.C., that's a lure in itself, and you can bring some more players here. Unlike Montreal, when they were there, you were not going to be able to lure many free agents there. And when they got here, they didn't have much money because they were owned by the owners and they had a budget that they had to adhere to. So now they're a regular baseball team with a new ballpark and a cash flow that's going to allow them to, do a great job. And they have Jim Bowden here, and Stan Kasten is the president. He was with the Braves, so he knows about the Braves way, and he was part of building the franchise there in Atlanta. So I think you're going to see great things from this ball club in the next few years.
This is a live view from the President's Club. In addition to everything else in that club, you can look at the Braves indoor batting cages down there, or the Nats. Stan Kasten, formerly with the Braves.
With the Braves.
The Nationals batting cages, and watch some guys maybe take some hitting before the game. That's down right behind home plate. A very unique location in this ballpark. There's Austin Kearns on the move in foul ground. That's all for Diaz, and that's 6 in a row retired by Saul Rivera as the Nationals try to continue and nurse this lead. They're ahead 2-1 with Nick Johnson coming up. ESPN's opening night baseball is built by the Home Depot. Nationals Park. And the Nationals are clinging to that 2-1 lead over the Atlanta Braves as we go to the last of the 7th inning. Say, fans, head to the ballpark during opening week to help Major League Baseball celebrate the 100th anniversary of Take Me Out to the Ball Game. That's right, it's the centennial of baseball's national anthem. For more information on how to be a part of your club celebration and on how to enter the Baby Ruth Take Me Out to the Ball Game video contest, log on to MLB.com. Tim Hudson, Joe, after his difficult first inning, he's never been better.
Yeah, well, his error in the first inning actually helped the Nationals by putting a runner at third with less than 2 outs. The runs were earned because they got a couple of 2-out base hits. But he has thrown the ball exceptionally well. And as I said before, since that first inning, he has kept the ball down.
1 ball, 1 strike to Johnson with 2 down and a runner at third in the first inning. Johnson knocked in the first run at Nationals Park and turned what looked like a single into a double, and then Austin Kearns knocked him in. 1-2. It's not just that he's been getting everybody out since that first inning, Joe. He's made it look so easy.
Well, he's keeping them off balance with the sinker, the slider, the cutter, the changeup, and he's throwing a 4-seam fastball and a 2-seam fastball. And all of these pitchers are keeping the hitters off balance. They're not having good swings.
1-2. And there's just what you're talking about. Nick Johnson, a very defensive cut, just trying to protect. Since that first inning, I think Nick Johnson's the only guy who's really hit the ball hard against Hudson. That was in the 4th inning. He hit a deep fly ball to center that was caught by Katze. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of ground outs and pop flies. He's retired 16 straight hitters. Left center, and Katze calls off Diaz. 1 away.
John, let's take a quick look at Tim Hudson and see how he's been able to accomplish this run of successive hitters after he had the trouble in the first inning. Look at this drive. Look at the lower leg drive. He drops down, stays on top of the ball. That forces it to sink a little bit more. There's his cutter. You see chasing on the outside part of the place. That's the 4-seam fastball. This is the 2-seamer running back in on the Duca. And there's the changeup. And those pitches have been able to keep him off balance. And the one thing you notice in all those pitches, they were all below the belt and going down. And that's why he's been so successful.
29 pitches thrown in the first inning alone, and only 46 since then in 5 2/3 innings. And it's 0-1 to Austin Kearns.
Well, he finally gets one upstairs, but that was the 4-seam fastball, which he's inclined to throw upstairs because it's faster and it has a little more pop on it.
So they can't just look for everything down.
Yeah, no.
He's liable to pop one up there as well. 0-2. That one kind of hung up there, but an easy play for Katze. And it just keeps on going. 18 in a row retired by Hudson. The Braves, who are counting on and starting pitching with a Hudson, Smoltz, Glavine at the top of the rotation. Peter Gammons, what about this Braves staff?
Well, you know, Joe's been talking about how much stronger. Tim Hudson feels he's much stronger. I saw Mike Hampton last weekend. He was outstanding, and they've got Glavine. But then you look at Jurgens, but you look at that. You take 1995 through 2005, there are 11 straight first-place finishes.
That ball is hit deep to left field, but Diaz plenty of room. And the inning
that thought, Peter,
is over. We'll be right back to you, Peter. But right now, Tim Hudson with 19 straight Nationals retired, and he may be out of the game. He's due up second when we go to the 8th. 2-1 Washington.
ESPN Opening Night Baseball is built by the Home Depot. You can do it, we can help. And in part by CareerBuilder.com. Start building, CareerBuilder.com. And Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'.
Back in Washington. Jefferson Memorial. And then from the President's Club here behind home plate at Nationals Park. Walking back out into the box seat area right behind home plate. And the Nationals lead the Braves 2-1. The new pitcher has come on after 2 shutout innings, 2 perfect innings from Saul Rivera, a right-hander. Now the veteran left-hander, Ray King, enters the fray. This guy's been around a long time, Joe.
Yeah, and I've always liked Ray King because he's one of those guys, you know, he's not afraid when he's on the mound. And that's, you know, the job of a reliever in the late innings, having to be able to go out there and have confidence that you can get the guy out. Even if they get you today, you able to come back the next day.
And he's a lefty in to face the left-handed hitting Mark Katze, and a pinch hitter is out on deck. And the Washington bullpen is busy, even as King is pitching to Katze. Katze has flied out twice. It looks like it's going to be 3 times. Harris in shallow left. Katze is 0 for 3. Now Brian Pena had been out on deck, and he strides to the plate now. You see the Atlanta bullpen is going. The right-hander is Pete Moylan, and the left-hander is Will Ullman, the former Cub. So Bobby Cox will choose between the two of them for the last of the 8th inning. Here's Pena from Havana, Cuba, 26 years old. Hit .212 and only 33 at bats for the Braves last year. Spent most of the year in AAA with Richmond. Hit .301 there. Braves have 3 catchers right now, which is unusual, because most teams are going with 12 pitchers. So
especially at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. But a lot of people figure it's just part of the numbers game that gets played at the end of spring training. Pena was out of options to go back to the minor leagues. If they try to get in there through waivers, they might lose him to somebody. And they figure, well, he was coveted by several teams, so they just kept 3 of them. Corky Miller is the 3rd catcher they kept. 3-0 the count to Pena. The left-handed batting, Kelly Johnson, the leadoff man, is on deck.
John, I think one of the things we should mention about this beautiful ballpark is that the project here is going to renovate the surrounding areas here near the ballpark, as a lot of the new stadiums that Major League Baseball is putting up are doing. You know, for instance, in Baltimore, they renovated the area around the ballpark, and you can see all the work being done around here with all the cranes and the buildings half finished. They're trying to really renovate this whole area and make it into, you know, a great part of the city, because it wasn't, you know, one of those great areas here before the ballpark was put here.
You get all kinds of things, offices and condominiums, apartments, restaurants, shopping planned for this area right near the Anacostia River. Gregor Blanco is the pinch runner at first base for Pena. He is the possible tying run. King moves him back to the bag. Blanco, a young guy who made the club in the spring. And Johnson takes way inside. All of a sudden, Ray King can't get the ball over the plate.
Exactly. I mean, he was throwing strikes, and that's his strength, is coming in throwing strikes, because he comes right after the hitter.
The Washington bullpen is ready. Luis Ayala is warming up out there. He's already set to go when needed. One way or the other, this is probably the final batter for King. A ball and a strike now. Kelly Johnson is 1 for 3 tonight. They built this ballpark so fast, Joe. You were talking about all the other building that's planned around the ballpark, but that has not been able to keep pace with the amazing pace they set in opening this ballpark. 22 months it took. Usually it takes 32 months or more to build a ballpark. They were still screwing in light bulbs and putting up some of the fixtures and whatnot during batting practice tonight. And that'll go back out of play. A ball and 2 strikes to Kelly Johnson. And it's difficult for us to tell how it plays so far. There are places in this ballpark that look pretty cozy for a home run hitter, and there are places in the ballpark that look like they could be difficult.
Yeah, and depending on the weather, I'm sure once the weather warms up, I think the ball will carry, you know, pretty well here.
It gets hot and humid here in the tidal basin in the summertime. I don't know if you have heard that, Joe.
No.
It's stinking hot here in July and August, and I have a feeling the ball will carry real well come the summertime. It's 402 feet listed as straightaway center, although it looks like it's a little deeper than that, a little bit to the left of that, where the center field and left field walls meet. There's lots of little angles out there. Left field 377 to the power alley, leading to the Braves bullpen. Millage made him hit it to the big part of the yard, and that worked to the advantage of Ray King. Millage tracked it down, 2 down. Hastings Millage, his first game as a national. Nationals Park, just under 42,000 capacity, $611 million to build. And there you can see the Capitol Dome from here. There's a gigantic scoreboard, which is very impressive out in right center field. 336 down the left field line, 335 down the right field line, 402 to straightaway center. And we got a pitching change. Matty Acta is going to his bullpen, and Luis Ayala will come in with a runner at first and 2 down. Escobar coming up, and Chipper Jones and Teixeira lurking right behind him. The 2008 season is underway. Opening night here in North America at Nationals Park in Washington, D.C. and the Nationals are clinging to a 2-1 lead over the Atlanta Braves. Luis Ayala coming back from an injury. Got into 44 games last year, pitched well. And now Ayala in to face Yunel Escobar with 2 down. Gregor Blanco, the pinch runner at first base, the possible tying run. And there's ball 1, a sinking fastball missing.
Well, no one's warming up in the Nats bullpen. I think they figure they're going to try to get Escobar out and then bring Chad Cordero in.
Cordero is the closer for the Nationals.
And a good one at that.
Little dribbler. That's foul. Well, it's a good thing he picked it up when he did, because it was rolling fair. He ended up throwing him out at first base, but it had already been called a foul ball by Mike Riley, who trailed that ball up the third base line. That ball had some kind of weird spin on it. Joey was starting to swing back into fair ground.
Well, it definitely had some erratic spin. It's the sinking fastball. He hits the top of it, and it's foul. Now look at it start back toward fair territory. Ooh. And it may have hit that line. You see that spot there? Now watch, let's see how close it comes to hitting the line. From the other angle, it looked like there was some. Nope, it's foul all the way. That's his glove. The tip of his glove actually hit the line.
Great shot right there.
Yeah.
And great call by plate umpire Mike Riley. And he trailed that play right up the line as the ball was moving up the line. Usually you'll see an infielder swipe at a ball like that just to make sure it stays foul. In this case, the fact that it stayed foul worked against the Nationals because Zimmerman threw him out.
Well, the ball was so close to the line, I don't think he wanted to swipe at it.
Here's Mike Riley, one of the longtime umpires in Major League Baseball. Gregor Blanco, the possible tying run at first base. Guzman. And Belliard gets the put out on the sliding Blanco. Chipper Jones stranded on deck. They'll have the big guns up in the ninth inning. Right now, the Nationals holding a 2-1 lead. The presidential opener from Washington, D.C. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan and Peter Gammons. 2-1. The Nationals lead the Braves. Last of the 8th inning. And Will Ullman, the former Cub, a left-hander, on to face Willie Harris, the former Cub, now with the Braves, facing the former Brave, now with the Nationals. Willie Harris played for the Braves last year. 2-1. The Nationals are leading. What a night for Tim Hudson. He struggled in that first inning. Threw a lot of pitches. Gave up a couple of 2-out RBI hits. And then never gave up anything the rest of the night. He retired the last 19 hitters he faced. 6 1/3 perfect innings after those 2 runs scored against him in the first. But those 2 runs have him trailing. He could pick up a loss tonight despite having pitched beautifully.
And we talked about how well he pitched last year and could not get some W's after pitching so well.
He won 16 last year, but with a little better luck, he would have won a lot more. There's Mike Hampton, who has had so many injury problems, but he had an excellent spring. He's set to pitch the 4th game of the year for the Braves. And they're counting on big things from Hampton this year. One time he was a 22-game winner with the Houston Astros.
And he, like Hudson, a sinker ball pitcher. Actually, next week they're planning to have John Smoltz make his first start. And right now it looks like he may go against Johan Santana, who would start making his second start of the season at that time.
Santana will go tomorrow in the Mets opener. I think they open in Miami against the Marlins.
Yes, they do. And then Pedro Martinez will pitch the second game against the Marlins. And by the way, I wanted to say this. Tomorrow at Wrigley Field, Chicago, on the corner of Clark and Addison.
Is Teixeira, and one away.
They're going to unveil a statue of the great Ernie Banks, Mr. Cub. They're going to unveil a statue there tomorrow, and he invited me to the reception and all the things they're having tomorrow, and I obviously have to work tomorrow, so I can't go. But I was with Hank Aaron over the weekend, and he's going for the ceremonies, and it's going to be a big day there in Chicago for Mr. Cub.
It's a shame they're only going to play one tomorrow.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe they will play two. They'll play one game, and then Ernie's going to have one as his reception.
Ernie Banks, 512 home runs, a Hall of Famer, and a guy who always played with passion and joy. Ullman got the man he was brought in to get out, and now Pete Moylan will come in from the Atlanta bullpen. 2-1 Washington. We'll be right back. Nationals Park in downtown Washington. The Nationals holding a 2-1 lead over the Braves. Last of the 8th inning. The Braves are counting on some strong starting pitching. Peter Gammon started to tell us about that a little bit earlier. Peter?
Well, John, Bobby Cox says like all the Braves' success comes down to one thing: starting pitching. And you look, 1995 through 2005, they finished first 11 years in a row, and they had by far the best starting pitching in the National League, the most wins, the best earned run average, only one under 4, by far the most innings. But the last 2 years, they have not had that kind of success. They've been in the bottom half of the league in wins, ERA, and innings pitched out of their starters, which is why they didn't finish first.
And when that starting pitching was so good, as Moylan missed that one, backing him up in the play, Escobar, nicely done. A couple of nice plays by Escobar tonight, and Belliard is out number 2. But when they were so good with the starting pitching, a couple of big names in that rotation were Smoltz and Glavine. And Glavine, after 5 years with the Mets, is back with Atlanta, but he's 42 years old. Smoltz is 40. And you see the staff has been giving up more than an earned run a game, above what they were allowing in their best days. And Smoltz, by the way, has had some arm trouble in the spring, but he threw 83 pitches in a minor league game today for the AA Braves team against their AAA Richmond club. Struck out 8, threw 83 pitches in 5 innings, felt great, and as Joe mentioned, he's likely to pitch next Sunday for his first start. The first time they really need a 5th starter against Johan Santana of the Mets, as Felipe Lopez bats here against Moylan. They throws that little frisbee slider for a strike.
When you're speaking of the Mets and Johan Santana, in my opinion, the Mets have to be favored because of the fact that they got Santana, right? They added him to their rotation. But the Phillies, of course, and I think the team that is overlooked a lot is the Braves. And I tell you what, they better not overlook them.
Moylan makes short work of Lopez. Chad Cordero cannot overlook the hitters he's going to face. The big hitters coming up for Atlanta. Back in Washington, 2-1, the Nationals lead the Braves. As we head to the 9th inning, let's take a look at our fan experience, brought to you by Bank of America.
John, this is what we're talking about in the open. You got two of the most dangerous power hitters in the game coming up back to back. They're both switch hitters, so it wouldn't matter who was on the mound. And Chipper Jones and Mark Teixeira. And for Chad Cordero, this is going to be a tough assignment to get through these two guys.
And if you're a fan, as John Roush comes in, not Chad Cordero.
Oh, that's
John Roush. We saw Cordero up in the bullpen earlier, but it is not him that has come in, but rather John Roush, ordinarily the 8th inning setup man. 6 feet 11 inches tall, the tallest player in Major League history. A line shot right back at him.
Well, this is interesting because I saw Chad Cordero down there, and he was their stopper last year. But a nice job there by Roush. Just very nonchalantly. Watch this. Just reaches out. I mean, he had it all the way. That was not a stab. He had it all the way.
Now Mark Teixeira. In the bullpen, Jesus Colomé
Something
was
must
warming
be wrong
up
with Cordero.
And now we look out there, and Joel Hanrahan is warming up, but not Cordero.
Yeah, something must be wrong with
Teixeira. Deep right center field. Off the wall. Kearns gets it back in. It's a double for Mark Teixeira. And he didn't miss by a whole lot. A home run. That fence out there is 14 feet high. It's the tallest fence in the ballpark. It's just in right center field. It's only 370 to the power alley out there.
Well, it's a fastball and not a bad pitch. It's away, moving off the plate, but it's up a little bit, and Teixeira extends out and just drives it. I thought the ball was out of the ballpark, but here again, this is a new park. You don't know how well the ball travels to certain spots, and the weather has a lot to do with it. It's still cold. I think Teixeira thought when he hit it, he'd hit it out as well.
But now Jeff Francoeur to try and knock in the pinch runner, Martin Prado. That ball is hit high and foul down the left field line. He jumped out on it, but it's way foul. And it is 0-1 to Francoeur. Ordinarily, they'd be seeing Chad Cordero, and I show you we have no information whatsoever as to why he stopped throwing and why he's not in the game. So we can only speculate. Here's the fastball, and that's low. 1 ball and 1 strike. Peter Gammons has done some checking, though. Peter?
Well, he had some stiffness warming up in the bullpen, and so that's why they decided not to go. Chad's velocity has been down a lot this spring. He has some stiffness warming up, so they didn't want to take any chances.
Yeah, because he led the Nats in saves, of course, last year. He was their closer and one of the best in the game.
A double by Teixeira, the first Atlanta hit since the 4th inning. Jeff Francoeur's infield single in the 4th. Now here's Francoeur again. He did not want to have an infield single this time. Wow, look at that, the slider, and he was badly fooled.
That actually was a pitch that LaDuca had called for before, John, and he got crossed up on. That's why he went out to talk to him.
Brian McCann on deck, a left-handed hitter. 1 out, 2-1 Washington. He made contact. Belliard throws him out, and over to third base goes Prado, the pinch runner. 2 down, and the possible tying run at third. And if you're a fan, hard to experience anything better than what we've got right here, Joe, with the Braves' best hitters coming up in a 1-run game in the 9th inning. John Roush, the unexpected closer, having to run the gauntlet here. He got Chipper Jones on a liner that he caught himself. But Teixeira nearly hit a home run, hit off the top of the wall a double. Francoeur has grounded out. And here's McCann. The ball gets away. The throw home, no throw. It's tied up. After all of that, it's tied up on a wild pitch or a pass ball. We'll see how they score it. LaDuca could not keep the ball in front of him.
But I didn't think it was a wild pitch. The ball had a lot of movement on it, but it looked like it was in the air when it got to the plate. So that ball's in the air. That has to be a pass ball. It's a tough pitch to handle because there was a lot of late movement, but it has to be a pass ball because it did not bounce in front of the plate.
And that's off the outside. It is scored as a pass ball.
Yeah, it had to be a pass ball, John, because that ball did not bounce in front of the plate. It just went through LaDuca. It looked like the ball had a lot of late movement. He was reaching for it, and then it just seemed like it just jumped more to the inside, and he couldn't handle it.
McCann swinging away on 3-0. Willie Harris. And on a pass ball, the Atlanta Braves have tied the game. Top of the order, Guzman, Millage, and Zimmerman. Nick Johnson due fourth, coming for Washington. The fan experience brought to you by Bank of America. Braves 2, Nationals 2, and the presidents are part of the fan experience. They certainly were tonight. The presidential opener. George Washington was dancing. Fans enjoying the new fan-friendly aspects of this beautiful new ballpark, Nationals Park. And baseball fans, young and old, taking in a ball game together. But the experience was a lot better until the Braves scored that tying run on a pass ball in the first half of this inning. Here's another look at that pass ball by Paul Oduka, Joe.
Well, the ball is in the air, and it just sinks past him. You see, the ball does hit the ground right at his glove, but he could have caught it by reaching out a little bit. But again, it's very difficult to catch balls sometimes when they have that much movement on them.
Plus, he was on the outside corner with a target, and that ball went to the inside.
He was looking for he was set up away, and the ball jumped inside. Like I said, see, the target is away, and the ball just moves down and in, and he wasn't able to handle it.
2-0 to Christian Guzman, who started a 2-run first inning rally with a base hit on the first pitch thrown by Tim Hudson this evening. Hudson has been taken off the hook. He had 7 innings, 2 runs, 3 hits allowed. Guzman, who hit .328 last year in 46 games, a season shortened with injury. Moylan, the pitcher, and a foul ball, 2-2. Martin Prado stays in to play first base after pinch running for Mark Teixeira. Nationals have some of their big hitters coming up. They'd love to see Guzman get them started in this inning. Millage on deck. Zimmerman due up third. Struck him out.
Great movement.
Opening day tomorrow, and we'll have a doubleheader for you on ESPN at 1 o'clock. The Yankees, the final home opener at Yankee Stadium, up against Toronto. And then at 4 Eastern, Joe Torre and the Dodgers up against the Giants at Dodger Stadium. Opening day baseball built by the Home Depot on ESPN tomorrow. Here's Lastings Millage. A strike call to the inside. Getting that low strike right there. Keeping everything down. And any national player who's got the idea of hitting the heroic game-ending home run will be exploited by Moylan there. That was a jam sandwich, Joe. Out number 2. Chipper Jones threw him out. And here comes Zimmerman. And you get that sort of excitement because of the expectations. Zimmerman's been the big man here for a couple of years. He's only 23 years old. 20 homers, 110 batted in 2 years ago. 24 homers, 91 batted in last year. Just a little bit low. Zimmerman, 6 feet 3 inches tall. Born in North Carolina, grew up in Virginia. And last year he made his hits count. He had, despite only 91 RBIs, 18 of them were game-winning RBIs. Belted. Deep left center. The ball game is over. Ryan Zimmerman has delivered the happy ending for the Nationals in the first game in their beautiful new ballpark. Ryan Zimmerman with a game-ending home run.
He's trying to get away from his teammates before they beat him up. John, you were talking about Moylan keeping the ball down and not being able to get it in the air. Well, what does he do? Makes a mistake and gets one about a little above the belt, and Zimmerman does the rest. You can't ask for a better ending.
The Nationals had not had a hit, had not had a single base runner since the first inning. 24 up and 24 down since 2 outs in the first inning, and then a late night bolt of lightning from Ryan Zimmerman in the 9th inning has won the game for the Nationals after their offense lay dormant all that time, all that considerable time. And he is our Chevy player of the game. Chevrolet is proud to recognize today's best and tomorrow's future, supporting over 700 youth baseball leagues nationwide. 23-year-old Ryan Zimmerman, another game-winning RBI in about as dramatic a moment as a Washington player could ever hope to have in the first game in their new park. Peter Gammons with Ryan Zimmerman.
Well, Ryan, can you just talk about the thrill of hitting that home run in this situation?
Oh, I mean, just to do that in front of these fans, you know, we've waited so long to get a place that can be our own, and then, you know, to play such a great game like that and then end it like that made it even better.
Just talk a little bit about Tim Hudson. He was so dominant after the first inning.
Well, that's the thing. When you get guys like that on the ropes in the first inning, I think we almost made him throw 30 pitches in the first inning. And from then on out, you know, he had his sinker working. And when he gets ahead, he's tough. I mean, he's got some of the best stuff in the game.
You're still only 23. You feel right now that this is the time for you to take over as a leader of this team?
Yeah, and, you know, the first 2 years, you know, you got to learn. There's a lot to learn. You can never stop learning in this game. But to be honest with you, I think there's just too many people on this team that are tired of being mediocre. And we know we're ready to win. We're ready to win now. And it takes people like me and Kearnsey and everybody to step up and lead, not just one person.
Ryan, thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations to Ryan Zimmerman. 2 years ago, in his rookie season, Zimmerman had 2 walk-off home runs in just a couple of weeks. And here's a look at that pitch, Joe.
Well, it wasn't as high as I thought, John, but it was still right around the belt. And, you know, sinker ballers aren't supposed to get the ball that high because his ball was really dipping. But that ball was middle in and actually moved off the plate inside, and he got the barrel of the bat on and hit it. That was a line drive right over the 377 area out there. About the same spot that Chipper Jones hit his home run earlier in the ball game.
Very similar spot to Chipper's. Chipper Jones got the first home run here at New Nationals Park, but Ryan Zimmerman got the home run that they'll all remember. The first Nationals home run was a game-ending home run. A definite happy ending to the story as far as the Nationals and their fans are concerned. Joe Morgan and I will see you tomorrow night on ESPN 2 at 8 Eastern from the Metrodome. The Angels and the Twins next Sunday night. Sunday Night Baseball returns 8 Eastern time from Detroit. The White Sox and the slugging Detroit Tigers. Washington beats Atlanta 3-2, the presidential opener. The first one at Nationals Park is in the books. Sports Center comes up next on ESPN. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Joe Morgan and Peter Gammons, with special appreciation to President George W. Bush. John Miller from Washington, good night.